Get started again, and Brandon is going to talk to us about, I'm going to call it hugging.
Yeah. All right. So I'm just going to start with, I don't know how to use this mic. How's it going, guys? How's that? Under my ear. So I have it upside down.
There are two ear clips that go over your ears.
It goes like this.
Yeah, there you go.
I had it upside down. It's a common problem among people like me. All right. Yes, Britney Spears. All right, so we're going to talk about Huginn. All right, so it's Huginn, not Huginn. I'm sorry for all the free hugs that maybe got disappointed today. I mean, I'll still give you a hug if you want to hug a sweaty drunk guy, but I wouldn't recommend it. What better hugs are there? The ones that pass bacteria. So we're going to talk about Huginn. So for those guys that know me or gals, I'm kind of lazy. And if I do something more than once, I want to write something that will automate that process out of my life. So I was really excited. Previously, I had used a lot of custom Python scripts that did things for me and sent me emails when I needed to be alerted of things. And suddenly I found Huginn in my life. That was thanks to a guy who will remain anonymous right now, but Huginn changed my life. So I want Huginn to change your life as well. So I work at Principal Financial Group. I'm a threat intelligence analyst. And so we do, a big thing for me is being able to keep up to date, right? So we do like Twitter monitoring and figure out what people are talking about. And we do, we want to monitor Payspin for references to Principal. And we want to monitor blogs for, new and exciting content out of that. And so I got tired of doing all those things myself. And so Huginn does these things for me. So a little bit around the background. So this is oh, you guys can't see my screen. What the hell? Let me fix that problem. So Huginn is actually the face of a cliff that you have to climb in order to understand it. So this is the learning curve that occurs when you need to learn Huginn. It is Ruby, so that's pretty cool. And extend these displays, show only one, show only two. And so that little person was like me trying to learn Huginn, and it was quite a battle. And for some reason, my display does not allow me to replicate. So that's cool. Yeah, but then I have problems seeing it. All right, so like Tom said, I guess I'll just drag it over and it will be fine. Famous last words for Tom. And now I'm going to go like this so I can actually see that screen. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is Huginn. This is the interface to Huginn, and we'll make it. Oh, it totally worked. All right. So down at the bottom here, it actually explains what Huginn is. So Huginn, so there was this Nordic god named Odin, and he had two ravens that would go back to Earth and bring him back information. So one of the ravens' name was Huginn, the other one was Mewin or Mew, I don't know. It started with an M and ended in Ian. So Huginn's based off of that. So the concept of Huginn is agents. So you have agents that take a particular action, and an agent can generate an event, or it can consume an event, or it can consume and generate an event. So tonight, what I wanted to demonstrate was three things that have really helped me gain situational awareness through Twitter, blog posts, and Payspin. So I'm going to create an agent, and I actually have some stored in case this works. So I have two favors to ask of the audience. One, bear with me while I watch the projector. So that's a pretty cool use case for Huginn. And so there are multiple types of agents. I'll scroll through this a little bit, but so as you see a bunch of these different agents, the one that I really want to use here in particular is the Twitter stream agent. And so I've already set up my API. This is the interface to Huginn, and we'll make it. Oh, it totally worked. All right. So down at the bottom here, it actually explains. Thank you, demo gods. What Huginn is. So Huginn,
So
there was
good I
this-
don't even
this
have to
Nordic
give this
god
presentation.
named Odin, and he had two. Yeah, Huginn's actually giving my presentation for me. We got. That sounds right. I don't hear myself talking anymore. I mean, except for the other people in my head.
Walked away when I heard the audio quality.
Yeah. All right, so what we're going to do is use the Twitter Stream Agent. So what the Twitter Stream Agent does is it uses the Twitter API, and it streams down tweets that match a particular keyword. So in this particular case, we'll just name this test Twitter. Don't mind all the other stuff that might pop up in my autocomplete. And I've already set up my Twitter integration into Huginn. So it uses the Twitter API, so there's a little bit of auth here, and so my Twitter handle in this particular case I'm going to use against that API is Boost Tools. If you hang out on the SecDSM Slack, you'll probably know what Boost Tools is, and then so the Twitter Stream Agent, we're going to have it generate events. In this particular case, the schedule is used to generate events. So we're going to have it generate events every minute. And as we continue to scroll down, we get into the heart of this agent. So it's going to use my credentials, and it's going to stream these particular keywords. So I'm going to remove, I only want one keyword. I'm going to remove a keyword. And so for my situational awareness, this keyword might be things like exploit. I don't even know if I spelled that right. I can't see it. Or thank you. Or I might add another keyword. That's like CVE 2018. And so, or, for tonight's purposes, and I'm going to ask for a little bit of audience participation for some tweets. It might even be SecDSM. Capitalization doesn't matter here, by the way. Scroll up, down, click save. So some particularities of this. So I'm going to be generating events on this one, which means that I'm going to be, so agents are event based. I can generate events and I can consume events. So this one is generating events. The alternative here is to generate counts, and I'll show you that here in a little bit. So I'm going to click save here, and now you can see my agent running here, and it's going to run every minute. So a little bit of audience participation. Let's see some tweets. You can do it against CVE 2018, whatever you want, or you can do it against exploit, but it'd be cool if you all tweet out some SecDSM stuff right now. And we'll see these events flowing in. And so the stream, I'll give you one word of caution. A Twitter stream agent is not very good for keywords that don't happen very often. There's actually another agent called the Twitter search agent, which will give you a scheduled Twitter search, and it will find all of the it will search back in that. So you want to do it every 30 minutes, an hour, whatever you want. But so stream's really good for popular keywords. So the first, one of the first use cases I had of this to test it out was on Martin Luther King Day. And so I did MLK Day as my stream, and like thousands of tweets were rolling in. So the Twitter API will limit you to 1% of available tweets for a particular keyword. And so there we see a last event out and a last event in. And so if I go into this particular agent, I can see that there were some tweets around SecDSM, and I can go to the, stop scrolling, I can go to the events, and I can see those particular events that occurred here. So wow, that was actually pretty decent. Nice job, guys. So here you can see all of the details. Are you at SecDSM? Because, yeah, awesome. You could be getting hugs right now. I don't know who's giving hugs, but it's not me. So sorry, guys. So we've got the creation. So now it's like, all right, well, what do I want to do with this, right? So we've got a stream on it. So I want to be alerted when anyone mentions SecDSM. Like, so it's cool. Like, so right now it's generating events for every time somebody mentions one of these keywords, but that's not very interesting to me. What I want to do is actually generate an event anytime that a lot of people start talking about it. So what we're talking about there is really some sort of a form of anomaly detection. And in particular, I want to see when people start talking about it. So I want to do peak detection. And that's actually an agent. Whew. Oh, I didn't even shut that off for that. Wow, I tried. Yeah, beer for the win. So there is actually a peak detector agent. Now, I'll tell you, so we're generating events right now. So the way the peak detection agent works is it looks at the count of events that are being received, and it expects them to be in a particular format. It expects a value. Instead, figured out the replication on my screen, but that's okay. It'll be fine. That's what Tom always says. It'll be fine. So, I forgot the schedule on this. So we don't want events to be emitted every time at 11 p.m. because that's going to take a while. We'll go ahead and send this stuff out every minute. So this guy's just going to be generating events. Now we haven't strung another agent to this. So you'll notice you have a receiver event. There's no sources because this guy generates events, so he can't receive it. But there's no receiver. So what we're going to do now is create another agent. New agent. I heard somebody yawn. Come on, guys. That was harsh. Harsh. I'm doing the best I can. Okay, so peak detector. We'll name this whatever. I don't know. Tom. Bad idea. You can name them. You can come up with whatever type of name that you want. So for a source, notice it pre-populates this. So we want to do counts, which was SecDSM peak. So this was the agent that I named that was generating a count. And so this is a path. It's actually value path of count. So this is what it expects. Here you can see the minimum number of events before it starts. So let me back up. The way that the peak detector works is it actually calculates a mean of the, you receive normally a count of 4 in this particular time interval. And so it establishes a mean, and then you have the option of setting a standard deviation to determine peak. So this is all explained in here. So there are some options of a standard deviation multiple. And so if you set a standard deviation multiple, so this is kind of how you tune it, right? So standard deviation is the number of times of the mean that you're looking for that peak detection. So you can set this to 2, you can set it to 1, but it has to be greater than 1. It can't be between 1 and 0, which is a pull request that I'd like to make to find the standard deviations that drop below the mean. Today that doesn't do it. So anyway, so we'll just leave that a minimum number of events of 4, which means that, guys, I'm going to need at least 4 tweets before we detect a peak here. So I'll go and save that. And one of the cool things, though, about Huginn is that it will actually allow you to replay an event. And so that count one hasn't actually gotten anything. Every minute it ran. Wow, that one's generated a lot of events. Let's see what those are. I'm just kind of curious. You can't really see much in that little description, but so I don't know what filter that these are hitting on. Keep in mind that I had 3 of them. Instead of teaching a kid how to cook, a valuable life skill, let's exploit. Well, yeah, fair enough. So there's some tuning that can happen here, right? And so there's on the peak side of things, there's actually 2 good ways to tune things. One is that standard deviation that I had, and then keep in mind that I'm generating a count here every minute. So that's a very fine-tuned, granular count. So let's say instead of a minute, I wanted a little bit more. So it's going to be really susceptible to say one person that owns 60 Twitter accounts and they all tweet at once, right? That's going to create a huge spike. So if you might actually want to extend that time interval out. Instead of 1 minute, you might want to extend it out even to 1 day in order to create that nice little baseline of your mean over that particular time. So events take a little bit to propagate as well. So we do have one event that was created here. If I regenerate this, I should see I should see an event that occurred in here. Well, so this peak, this is my count. So we can actually come in here and see the event. Show. So the filter of SecDSM and this time interval has been tweeted, or there have been 6 tweets in this particular, so like in the last minute. So what happens is because I have this agent set up, oh nice, now there's 2. So let's go back to the agent. There we go. So we're getting some events in there. So details, scroll down. Okay, so this is, notice the event receiver here of Tom, bad idea, right? So this is generating those events of the count, and it's going to this guy, which is our peak detection. And scroll down. So this is doing that. So I need at least events. So we've already generated 2 because we're doing it every minute. And if I scroll down just a little bit more, actually if I go to the summary, that's where that page is, it will actually show me a nice pretty graph of those. That's cool. More events, yeah, more events. So, so this will, like, I mean, we've got a graph here that's built, and it's respective of what we don't have is enough time. So remember, it requires at least 4 events. So we need at least 4 minutes to solid SecDSM tweets in order for this to work. So I don't know, we'll just keep on going. We'll just pretend that, you know, I guess the other way to do this is to cheat. So you can create an event, an agent, and it's called the manual event agent. Because I said so. And of this is going to be my Tom bad idea. And we'll just save that. And now I can come in here and I can run this agent. Well, not from there, clearly. What the crap? Can't say that, we're PG-13. I heard it, whoever said that. Create an event for other testing purposes. Do not set options on this agent, instead connect other agents. Yeah, did I not set a receiver? I set a receiver. Now I want to run that agent. I don't know, maybe I'll just depend. Oh yeah, right here, yeah. So, come in here and I can say count, backspace, googly moogly, count 20. We need a time. Someone want to look up the epoch time for me? Time. It starts with 1515.
6326678.
6378. It's probably cool.
6690 now. 66.
All right, I got 6690. Yep. Right, boom. Okay, let's send that one. All right, let's do. Yeah. All right. So now let's do like I don't know 6700. That's okay. Whatever. And we'll do a count of 40, right? So what we're trying to do here is cause a peak because my audience participation has failed me, or the demo god just hate me. Probably that one.
We don't want to take the bandwidth.
Yeah. Don't take the bandwidth. All right. So let's go to agent. So those events should have been submitted, and so last event in. So this is my peak detector agent. Last event in 1 minute ago. Scroll down on my summary. So now we've got that nice graph. All right, so here's my mean, guys. So mean of 4 right now. So it takes about a minute for those events to propagate from one agent to the other. And there's actually a flag to propagate immediately. I should have done that. So we're going to give this agent just a little bit. And when I send those events of 20, it's going to come well above. So this is that standard deviation of 1. There's the solid black line's my mean. Let's just see if that happened already. Not yet. Last event in 1 minute. Give that just a little bit here. Summary. All right, so you can start to see the idea here, right? So it's going to generate me an event whenever this happens. So this is Twitter, right? So you can do this for all of the. Oh, you know why? It's because I didn't give it a group. I didn't give it a filter of SecDSM in my manual event. All right, so you get the idea. So the next thing that we could do is actually when that event triggers, we can set another agent that receives events from the peak detector that will actually email you. So that's kind of the Twitter stuff. I actually do have, I kind of cheated just in case the demo gods hated me. And so I've actually had the peak detector for SecDSM going. And I disabled this agent before I went, but there were no tweets while we were going. There were no peaks detected while we were going here for SecDSM. So, yeah, that's a nice 1. Sad. All right, so anyway, so that's peak detection. I see how it works. If I would have put in a filter in there, and I want to take more time, but I have other agents to show you guys. So the other one I wanted to show is RSS feeds. It's silly easy to do this. So a blog post, right? RSS is our favorite type of way to consume blogs because no one has time to look at all of them. And so we have exploit DB would be a really good one of interest. And so it's really simple. You just put in the URL. And so I actually have a tab up here of the URL of exploit DB. So, oh, that's Pastebin. That's coming. That's coming. All right, so exploit DB. So this is their RSS feed. You can see that some of the particular keywords in there. So just keep this one in mind. Like, you know, remember this card, if you will. Man, I don't know. That one says Windows. Okay, so just remember your card. It's a Windows card. Okay, so we're going to go to Huginn, and we're going to add this particular URL as an RSS feed. And we'll do a dry run here just to make sure that this is reading appropriately. So this is like a way to test out your agent. And so this looks good. Like we can see a description there of Windows. You kind of get an idea of how it's built out, that particular RSS feed. So, okay, so that looks good. There's an event or two. I don't know. How long do I have to scroll? Where's the X? Where's the OK? Yeah, sweet. All right, so that looked good. So we'll go and save that. Now, I didn't set a schedule on that, so it's supposed to run every day. So what I want to do now, though, is I'm going to set up a trigger agent, which is kind of similar to that Twitter user stream, except for it doesn't use Twitter. It uses any event that you want to put in. So in this particular case, I'm going to do a value here. So what was the card? It was not foobar Windows. It was a Windows card, and it's case insensitive by default. And we're going to look for that. Remember, not describe. Description. Did I spell that right, guys? No. All right, that was cool. Fingers working that time? All right, sweet. Thanks, fingers. So we're going to look in that description. So remember doing that dry run, it kind of built out that RSS feed. And that where we wanted to look was in the description. You could actually make rules. So notice here the square bracket is an array. So we could actually set up multis in here. So in this particular case, we're going to be looking for the regex of Windows anywhere in the description. And then it's going to generate this message. So we'll save that. Oh. Trigger? I didn't even spell that right. This is awesome. So we'll save that. All right, so now these two events are like linked together. And Huginn's got a cool little thing called view diagram, which will actually allow you to visualize these particular events. I don't have 80 agents. Sweet. So notice that this created me an error. I didn't even mean to do this. This is drunk brain in action right here. So I need to set up a receiver on the exploit DB of RSS trigger, right? Because I'm going to be pulling that RSS feed and I'll send it to the trigger event that's looking for the phrase of Windows in the description. So come edit that. And my receiver is going to be RSS trigger. So the concept of scenarios is like you can collect agents together and then like say, hey, disable all the agents, whatever. It's not that big of a deal. It's a pretty cool, like when you get a lot of agents though, it helps a lot. All right, so now if we go to that view diagram, we see that those two are connected. So now what we're going to do is have the exploit DB. So remember, we haven't run this agent, we just dry runned it. So it hasn't actually pulled those events in. So we're going to run it. And, demo gods, please be kind. We're going to see up here in this title, like right around here maybe, some events come in. So it takes just a minute for that job to propagate through. I have a feeling because I'm zoomed in so far, it doesn't actually show that. All right, sweet. So there's 25 events generated. So that's the amount that they're showing in their RSS feed. So if we come into this event, this should look pretty familiar. So, well, that's not the one that I wanted that has windows in it, but it doesn't really matter because this generated 25 events. So it's going to send all of those events that represents one particular entry in their RSS feed over to this other agent. And then it's automatically looking for all of the descriptions that contain windows. So here are those events. And you'll notice this is a good example of drunk Brandon having forgotten everything, including how to speak. And so it just generated the message. So if we go back to this particular agent, I've forgotten something, and that is the include event. So we go to agent here. And so there's this rule that says keep event, not true. So we'll set that to true. And so now instead of just generating this message, which doesn't work, we will actually include the event that matched that alert. So I'm going to do a few things here. First, because I've generated all the events, I'm going to delete that. It has a concept of a memory as well. So it won't generate an event twice if it sees the same ID. And so that's actually, so we've deleted all those events. This particular agent doesn't have a memory, but whatever. So if I go back to that, and I look not at the edit the agent, but I look at the events of that agent. So this is another pretty cool feature. I can actually re-emit any of these particular events, and it will send them to the downstream agents that should receive them. No, demo gods. I click and it does nothing. So we'll re-emit some of these, and we'll see if those I have no idea if those actually include the phrase windows. And if I really wanted to re-emit all of those, which I do, I can go to that agent, and I'm going to erase this agent's memory. And so here you can see that these are all the particular unique identifiers of the events that it's created. And I can just dump those and then run this agent again. And it's going to go ahead and just repopulate all of those 25 because like now it's forgotten about any of the duplicates that it has. And so it's already, that can't be right. Oh yeah, the events is right. Because I didn't clear the events on that agent, I just cleared its memory. So there I've created 53. The last events are coming in into this downstream agent. It hasn't generated any events, which means that none of those triggered. Oh, there we go. There we go. All right, so now those events fully propagated and at random. So if we come look at these particular RSS feeds, they should all have windows somewhere in the description. So that's kind of the trigger agent. So then you create another downstream agent that takes an action on that. So some of the downstream agents, like the actually push them to you agents, it's pretty cool. They have a Slack agent. They have a... there's tons of different agents. It can email you, which is one of my favorites. It can actually publish its own RSS feed for other people to consume as well. Google Translation Agent is really good when you do website scraping. We'll do that in a little bit. Not the Google Translation, but website scraping. There's tons of different agents in here. So you can push it out through text, through Twilio. You can actually have it post something on Twitter. You can do push notifications via pushover. So some of these require either commercial or other products as well. But there's tons of different agents that you can use. All right, so we've done Twitter. We've done an RSS feed. So this one's pretty cool. And for the sake of time, because I have no idea how I'm doing on time, I'm just going to cheat and I'm going to show you the agent that I set up for scraping. It's actually 4 agents that get put together. And so this is that scenario. I'll show you the diagram and explain how this works. Now that you already have the concept of how agents work. So the pastebin uses this pastebin test uses the pastebin API to get the unique identifier of every paste that has been posted since the last event. So the way that the pastebin API works, oh, that totally worked. Thank you, demo gods. I appreciate you. So you do have to have a pro account to do this, but so you can do the API scraping endpoint on this, and what that does is it will give you all of the new posts, and you specify a limit for how many posts you want to be displayed. So we max that out at 150, and then we pull that every minute. So it only gives us the URL or the scrape URL or the full URL to do that. So it doesn't actually give us the content of that particular paste. So what I have to do is take that full URL, or in this particular case, I actually use a scrape URL, and then I have to scrape that again. Okay, so that's it for pastebin. So first I dedupe it, right? So it shows me the last 250 every time, which means if I'm pulling this every minute, it's possible that there's been less than 250 pastes to pastebin. And so we deduplicate that. And so we do deduplicate it based on the entire content that I pull out. So if we look at this agent, did that work? No, that totally didn't work. So if we look at the pastebin agent, pastebin test, I actually extract particular details out of it, of the scrape URL, the title, and the user. So the events that get created here only contain those 3 particular details. And you can see since I've disabled it 36 minutes ago, this is what those events look like. And so what I really care about here is that scrape item ID, but it goes ahead and deduplicates based on all 3 of those. So it could be, the same paste ID and a different title, and that deduplication method won't work, but that doesn't happen in pastebin based on the way that it works. So we deduplicate that, which is not a very interesting point, and then we scrape each particular URL. So all of those events get put in here, and I say, hey, grab the URL from an event based on the URL tag, and then this is a regular expression that matches everything in a multi-line format. So if you don't include the multi-line format, if a paste has more than 1 line, then we'll actually put different events for each line. So we definitely want to multi-line that. And so you can see some of the events that this is created. So this is a paste. And in this particular one, the content was empty, which is kind of weird, but I guess not unfeasible. Yeah, so there's one that has a little bit more content, and there's the URL. So from here, I'm very interested in things that mention principal, or maybe principal.com. And so just like what we did before with that trigger agent, you can actually set up, I'm sorry, that's not the right one. So you can actually set up a trigger agent based on pastebin as well. So in this particular case, I have my agent set up to monitor pastebin posts that match SecDSM. And I've included the case and sensitivity. So what I'm going to do is actually enable all of this scenario. I didn't want to edit the scenario. I just want to go to all of the agents in that scenario. And a little bit more audience participation. So this is going to kick off every minute for that pastebin test. You can see I've got that scheduled for every minute. And so if someone or a lot of people can go to pastebin and post a paste that mentions SecDSM, it could be SecDSM Rocks, it could be Zoom Equipped presenting a SecDSM, whatever you want to do. And we'll start watching this particular scenario for some triggers. So you can see I've tested this earlier, so I've already got 2 triggers in here. So we'll actually delete those. Trigger agent, delete all events. And we should start seeing this number. This should start working. So the way that okay, so I've got one problem here. So the way that the pastebin API actually works is you have to whitelist IPs, but this looks like it's working okay. Wait, that's all old stuff. There we go. Yeah, so this is working now. So these are the log messages that are coming in. It's parsing those results. We'll go back to the scenarios, look at that particular pastebin. So yeah, so this is all looking good now. So it has to, keep in mind, so the events have to propagate. And I do have all of these events, these agents set to propagate the events immediately. So they're going from the scrape to the deduplicate and then down to that specific paste. And that specific paste takes a little bit, but eventually those will come here. So what we're looking for here, notice that this is the events generated on that trigger that we have SecDSM set up. So we're looking for a value in that events triggered column for the trigger event. It's definitely working here. I think if I scroll out, like there's a cool little feature here. So notice that so this is a real-time view of the number of events that are coming in here. So like this is clearly generating a lot of events, right? Like this is just scraping every pastebin post. And so I created 4,107. So you'll notice I have this keep events for 1 hour. And so this is a setting that you can set on any agent, and it's just to reduce the amount of overhead of storage that you have to do. So kind of keep that in mind on some of the more transient agents that you have, that might be a simple thing to set, so that way you don't have to store those events for a long time. So this triggers getting events, it's evaluating it. It hasn't seen any paste that mentions SecDSM specifically. Well, nothing's wrong. It takes a little bit of time. So there it looks like it had an event. So there you go. So there's 4 events, and there you can see the particular users that did that, and it will even show you the content of those events. So tastes like grass. I don't know what grass tastes like. I mean, I don't know. So it obviously provides a link to that. I don't remember what grass tastes like. I heard that. So you can see that raw content in there as well. So that's kind of, so the Huginn is a very flexible application. It can do, so the website scraping, here we have it set up to do text-based, which is this particular raw pastebin, but you can have it actually extract components out of CSS, out of JSON, out of JSON paths within XML, etc. And so it's a very flexible application. I've demonstrated both 3 things now: Twitter, monitoring your blog posts, and pastebin for keywords of interest. So this is a very valuable tool that I use to get alerts of things that I need to know, to do that peak detection of when a vulnerability comes out that I need to be aware of based on people tweeting about it. And it's been a very useful application for me. So I'll pause and take any questions that you might have, and if not, then I'm going to drink some more.
There was, back in the sword call, there was
What kind of host is that running on?
Yeah, I'll answer this guy's question first, then I'll get to you.
there was about 7.6 hour age. Is that like hits per hour, or was that
Where was that?
if you go back to in agents, who is right there, age, so about
Age. So the age is actually how old this agent is. So this is the creation time, and so that's the default sorting. So you can do it based obviously off of the ones that are all linked, right? So I'll be honest with you, I don't particularly care for the age. I wish that I could sort on events created, but I can't. All right, so your question?
What host is that? What kind of host is that running on?
So Huginn right now is running on my laptop. So my laptop's a little bit beefy, but I've implemented this as well as on a Raspberry Pi. So there are some particular deployment options that you have. They recommend, so there's the concept of workers when you install this, the number of threads that can actively work a job, which like all of these are considered a job, and like event propagation is considered a job. And you can kind of see that under, there's a jobs thing somewhere here, job management. So you can actually see all the background jobs that are running. So they suggest 1 job worker per CPU that you have. So it doesn't have to be anything fancy. People have definitely deployed this on Raspberry Pis, etc. So you don't need a lot. Keep in mind though, so your storage requirements. So this uses a MySQL database backend to keep all those events. So that's why you want that the event storage, like keep events for. You want to make that as low as you can, so you don't have a lot of turnover on that, or so you do have a lot of turnover on that. So yeah, there you can see the event jobs that are running in the background. Any other questions? Sweet.
How long is it take you to kind of tune it to your ideal threshold for when you get alerts and stuff like that?
So the question was, how long did it take me to tune it to make alerts that are manageable to me? And say, I'm never done. So I'm constantly thinking of new agents that I could do. They actually have some demo agents that are really useful. So one of them is like the umbrella alert. So you can actually have an API call out to Weather Underground and give it the API key, your zip code, and you do a trigger event for rain or cloudy. And then it will send you an email whenever you want to bring your umbrella, right? So like I'm constantly thinking of how else can I use that. And so more recently, we've actually done, so like I demonstrated the RSS feeds. Well, what if you did peak detection across all of your RSS feeds, right? So when someone started mentioning vulnerability on RSS feeds or flaw, right, then you get an alert on that. So like I'm constantly finding those new things, and then I'm constantly tuning on, in particular with peak detection, okay, do I want to look over a longer time interval? How often, over what time frame should I calculate that mean? All of that kind of stuff. So it's never perfect. Don't expect it to be perfect, but it will help you out a lot. So I've done things like, there's a guy that's not here tonight that actually did forum scraping. So like new posts to forums based on CSS extraction of the titles of the posts, etc. They have so a really good example. So I use this for adversarial monitoring as well. So people will advertise phishing kits on YouTube, right? So every post that adversary makes on YouTube about a new phishing kit deployment, I want to be alerted of that. So I find that guy's YouTube channel, and I set it up as an RSS feed, and I get an email anytime that guy sets out a new video demonstrating his latest phishing kit. So criminals are idiots. They advertise, and so find ways to track their advertisements, and Huginn helps me do that. So I have actually 2 different deployments of Huginn, one that I use for testing, this one that I use just for this particular setup. But yeah, it's this is a little difficult, don't get me wrong, but there is Docker options if you want the easy button route.
How's mail handled? Is it,
Very good question. So how's email handled? So I don't have email set up on this particular box, but there are configurations options within Huginn. So most of the configurations are managed in a hidden file called env for environment, and you can actually set up an SMTP relay, your authentication that you need to use for that, etc. So.
supports TLS and stuff like that?
Yep, all of that is supported. Yeah.
Is there a community out there for agents that people are sharing? If they write them, or
That is a great question. I'm actually glad that you asked that because I totally forgot that. So the question was agents, like everything's built upon agents. So what does the community look like for agents? So the way that Huginn actually builds, I don't even know what I've got here. GitHub, Huginn. So this is the main GitHub agent. The main framework to Huginn. They have the concept of agents. Tons of people make agents. It's kind of hard to find them on GitHub. So I'm actually going to have to cheat because I always forget this particular URL. But Huginn actually runs, so they have a public instance of Huginn that the creators or the maintainers of Huginn maintain. And they have this awesome document repository of third-party agents. So I'm scrolling back in my history here. Let's just do a search for Huginn in Slack. And so I always forget about this. And Toatum, thank you, mentioned it to me on Slack. And it's actually a Heroku deployment. Heroku, is that right? Heroku. I need some more beer. Deployment. I need some more hugs. Some more ravens. Man, I'm not going to find this. So I will buy a beer. Got it. Got it.
There's actually a button called Deploy to Heroku, and it'll do everything for you. You just have to do the bundle.
Easy button, right? So he just said that there's a deploy to Heroku instance, like a button to do it. Are you fucking kidding me? Oh, no, yeah, this is right. Zoom. All right, so there's some documents here. So the agent database is kind of what you're looking for there. For the person that asked about like what are all the agents. So this is a collection of all the different agents as well as the third-party agents. And I'll tell you, so it's all Ruby based. So I'm a big Python guy. I had never touched Ruby before Huginn. And since then, I've actually created several Huginn agents for my own purposes. It's really easy to write. Like Python translates to Ruby, I think, pretty easily. But so you can write an agent. So I was hoping to actually open source one of the agents that I wrote. So Tom will tell you that I'm a level 9 internet stalker, and I'm not a level 10 because there's always room for improvement. But the level 9 stalker actually does things like every time somebody follows Tom, I get an email. every time that somebody unfollows Tom, I get an email. And then I like to poke him on that. So I was hoping to release that. I was making some modifications to it and actually broke the crap out of that agent. But I have some other custom agents that I've been able to write around Facebook scraping as well. So I was able to use Chromium in a headless scenario to actually log into Facebook and go look at a person's Facebook profile and see new posts. So again, I use this for adversary tracking. And so criminals advertise on Facebook. They advertise on Instagram. They advertise on social media. And that's where I want to track them. So I was able to write agents that I use for that purpose. Facebook agents and Instagram agents are one that the Huginn community really desires, and I'd love to be able to open source that, but I don't want to let that go. So unfortunately, I won't be able to do that, but it's very flexible to do so. Any more questions? One more.
Nick asked, how difficult is the initial setup?
So good question. How difficult is the initial setup? It really depends on your deployment options. I'm a guy that I like to learn. And so there are Docker installation deployments, and there is a deploy to Huginn button in MySQL. You'll be fine.
You can't run it on Windows. You can only run it on Linux.
On Linux. No Windows deployment. You might be able to.
The documentation says otherwise.
Well, from a support perspective, I'm sure deploying it on Windows might be difficult, but I bet you could deploy that, right? Because you can run Ruby on Windows. That's fine. So, yeah, Sigwin it up. All right, what else you guys got? Nothing?